Hi everybody, welcome to World of Warcraft Legion Beta. I am Severin, taking a look at classes, and now we're taking a look at Affliction Warlocks. Like I said in my Destruction review, Blizzard's made some changes to Warlocks. I'm on the fence about most of them, but Affliction is alright. I've never been a huge fan of Affliction. I'm still not now, but I'll go through it just for the benefit of others who might be interested. The big change in Legion is that once again, Affliction's dots are the big muscle of its DPS. On live, your dots hit like wet noodles unless you are channeling Drain Soul onto them, and that is no longer the case here. Couple of other changes. Unstable Affliction is our big hitting dot, and it costs 1 Soul Shard to cast. And there are a couple of other talents and artifact traits that you can take that play into Unstable Affliction's overall benefits. Like you can buff it, give it a couple of other benefits, which I'll show you very shortly. You have another 2 dots here. We have Agony. Behaves almost the same way it does on live. It ramps up its damage up to 10 stacks. If you refresh it at 10 stacks, it will remain at 10 stacks for a little more damage. And unlike on live, Agony has a chance to generate 1 Soul Shard. And it is Corruption that is just a dot. Corruption no longer generates soul shards or does much of anything. It's just there for some extra damage. And those are, I'd say, the really big changes to Affliction. You don't have to channel, and your dots are a little beefier, and they interact with the spec a little differently. So let's take a look at talents. And in our first row, we can already see some pretty substantial changes here. Hunt is no longer baseline. It's a talent you can take. It's a 15-second cooldown, excuse me. Does some damage, and if the target dies within 15 seconds, the cooldown is reset. Not much else to say there. Writhe and Agony. Agony's damage can ramp up twice as high now, so could be good. And we have Drain Soul. Drain Soul is also a talent and not baseline. It replaces Drain Life, which is the filler cast for Affliction. It just buffs it up a bit. It does about 200,000 damage over 5 seconds, and it heals you for 130% of the damage done. Which brings me to kind of, I feel, Blizzard's design decision with Affliction is it's a little less tankier than Destruction and Demonology. A lot of its spells and effects are focused on healing you after you've used them. So I don't know how strong Affliction will be at tanking the big hits like Demonology and Destruction do, especially on live, but time will tell, I suppose. It definitely has a lot more healing utility than it does on live, so take that for what it is. Of these 3 talents, for as far as DPS goes, I've selected Drain Soul, but I also feel Writhe and Agony will probably be a viable option here. And I don't foresee myself taking Haunt. It looks nice, but I'm not really sure of the numbers here. I don't theory craft. I do what theory crafters tell me to do, so there you go. Second row here we have Contagion. Makes Unstable Affliction increase all the damage you deal to the target by 15%. Like I said, that's buffing up Unstable Affliction, making it even more important to keep up here. Another talent option is Absolute Corruption. It removes the duration on Corruption, it just makes it permanent and beefs up its damage by 25%. This is a talent I think you could take if you have trouble juggling dots, especially on multi-target encounters like I do. So it gives you 1 less dot to worry about. You just toss up Corruption on all of the targets, and then you just have to worry about Agony and Unstable Affliction. So could be a choice there. And then we have Mana Tap, which performs the same way it does on Destruction. I think it's a crap talent. If you haven't watched that video, it's not a great talent. You consume 40% of your current mana to grant a damage increase for 20 seconds. And unlike Destruction, which regains its mana very easily, I haven't noticed that with Affliction, so this could cause a lot more problems than it was with Destruction, so keep that in mind. The next row is very similar to Destructions. If you don't take Demon Skin, you're wrong. Mortal Coil causes a fear, heals you, no problem. For Destruction and Demonology, this talent is Shadow Fury, it's our AoE stun. For Affliction, it is Howl of Terror, it's an AoE fear instead of a stun. I don't foresee this ever seeing use in a raiding environment, maybe in dungeons, definitely in PvP, but as far as raids are concerned, I doubt you will ever see this in use, especially over Demon Skin. The next talent row here, we have Siphon Life, is an optional fourth dot. It's an instant cast, does damage over 15 seconds, and you are healed for 100% of the damage dealt. Like I said, that's that healing coming into play again. Sow the Seeds is Affliction's AoE talent. It functions very similarly to Fire and Brimstone for Destruction. And what this does is if you have a Soul Shard available, it will consume a Soul Shard when you cast Seed of Corruption, and instead of planting a seed on one target, it will affect 5 enemies. So you can see some pretty big seed explosions there for some very substantial AoE, I imagine. And the last talent here is Soul Harvest. It behaves the exact same way it does on Destruction and Demonology. It increases your damage and your pets by 20%, lasts for a couple of seconds, and for each target you have Agony on, it increases the duration for a little bit. So, like I said for Destruction, I don't think this is going to be a solid single target talent. Maybe for if you have burst window, high opportunities, like you have a priority ad or a period where the boss takes increased damage, this might be good there, but beyond that, I don't think it would get a lot of use. Maybe on AoE fights, but I feel like Sow the Seeds would be a much better option in that scenario. And the 75 and 90 talent rows are exactly the same as they were for Destruction. We have mobility here with Demonic Circle, Burning Rush, and Dark Pact is here for some reason. And Grimoires are the same, Supremacy, Permanent Doomguard, or Infernal, your choice. Service summons an extra demon for 25 seconds. And Grimoire of Sacrifice is still a neutered pile of shit. Don't take it. The 100 talent rows are where things get interesting. We have Soul Effigy, which I feel is going to be the default choice for single target as things stand now, maybe even on cleave encounters. What this does is behaves similarly to Mage's Prism on live. It creates a clone of the target, whatever target you put it on, and 50% of the damage dealt to the effigy is also dealt to whichever target you cast it on. So could be pretty cool. You've got some multi-dotting going on there. So even on single target fights, you're going to have 2 targets at least. So could be pretty cool. Phantom Singularity is, I feel, the AoE talent of this row. Puts kind of a dot on one target, and it hits everything within 25 yards for 128,000 damage, and it heals you for 30% of the damage done. So pretty solid AoE talent. Don't take it in single target, obviously. And then we have Soul Conduit, which, much like Destruction and Demonology, it's the same talent for all 3 specs. Every Soul Shard you spend has a 20% chance to be refunded. Could be pretty solid. Affliction has some issues generating Soul Shards, but I don't feel they are as important as they are for Destruction and Demonology, so I think this is more something that it'll cater to players' individual needs. If you're having trouble with Soul Shard generation, this could help a lot. So let's go ahead and take a look at artifact talents. Our artifact ability for Affliction is Reap Souls. And what this does is when you kill a mob or an enemy while you're in Affliction, you kind of reap its soul. You've got the little scythe in the character pane there. And it leaves a little visual on the ground. You'll see it in just a moment when I show this off on the training dummy. But when you use the artifact ability, you consume those souls you've kind of gathered in your scythe to buff up your damage, and it doubles the effect of all of the other traits on this artifact. So that could be pretty substantial. And I've noticed you can't go higher than 5 stacks of souls reaped, so there's a soft cap there, I think, and it just increases the duration of this buff by however many souls you've consumed, so keep that in mind. The gold dragon talents here are some interesting design choices, I feel, and you'll see why in just a moment. But we'll start with Harvester of Souls. Each time corruption deals damage, it has a 15% chance to deal some additional damage and heal you for that damage done. So, like I said, it's another heal for Affliction's slightly squishier build, I feel. And we have Soul Flame. When you kill a target, its soul bursts into flames and deals AoE damage to all enemies nearby. I feel like this is a really cool talent visually. I haven't seen it because I've just been making these videos and practicing on dummies, but the image it conjures in my mind is really cool. It's just a soul exploding and damage everywhere. But the big thing here is that it only procs when you kill a target. So you're not going to see that proc a lot in raids, I feel. You know, maybe on certain bosses where there's a lot of ads, but beyond that, it's a pretty crap trait for artifacts. And so is this one here, which is Wrath of Consumption. After you kill a target, your damage over time is increased by X% for the next 20 seconds, and that stacks up to 5 times. Again, because it doesn't proc until you kill something, probably won't see a lot of this in raids, which is kind of crappy that Blizzard gave Affliction the short end of the stick like that. But it is what it is. Maybe it'll change by the time it hits live, but I've said that a lot about a lot of Blizzard's decisions, so we all know how that goes. So, all right, let's take a look at how it looks on the dummy. The pet of choice for Affliction is the Fell Hunter. I've actually already got it out, so I just summoned it again because I'm a derp. And here we go. So we start with Agony, Corruption. I'll put up Unstable Affliction. I'll use the Soul Effigy here. And you'll see that spawns just right next to the Warlock. You can dot that up for some extra damage. These little purple spheres you see here are the effect of my scythe reaping the enemy's souls here. So that's what that looks like. And you can see on the Reap Souls action button, it keeps a count of how many souls I've got. I've got 1 right now, so I'll try and get 5 here, and I'll show you what that looks like. 4, 5. Okay, yeah, here we go. So hit Reap Souls, you consume the souls, and you get a buff for 32 seconds at 5 stacks. So that's Affliction for you. I would show you AoE talents, but thanks to Blizzard's amazing design decision, we can't change talents outside of a sanctuary. And I know you might be saying, hey, you're right next to Shrine, just go inside and change talents, you lazy asshole. Well, you're right, I am lazy and I'm an asshole, so I'm not going to do that. So I will see you all next time when we take a look at Demonology Warlocks. See you then.